Now that you have a sense of different time management strategies and project management strategies, it's time to talk about skills that are really important to enhance your time management strategy and to make your time management approach efficient and effective. So, we're going to talk about a few key skills here. So, first, very important skill is being able to predict the time required to complete tasks. Not developing this skill is one of the first things that will hold people back in having success with time management. So, in other words, you need to know that when you need to be able to predict how long it's going to take you to get something done and be fairly accurate in that estimate of how long something is going to take you. That way, when you come up with a plan for getting things done, when you say, I'm going to accomplish X, Y, and Z in this particular time period, you can rely on that. You know that the time you've allocated to that task or that set of tasks will actually fit. Otherwise, what happens is people too often just overestimate what they can get done in a day and really underestimate how long things will take. And then things don't fit the plan that you came up with. You are always behind, and you can't actually follow through on your time management strategies. That leads to a lot of negative things, like making poor choices about what to prioritize because you think you'll have time left for more important items. So this is a really important skill set. How do we get started here? Well, you start simply by assigning a time estimate to how long things will take. So for each task that you've mapped out in your time management strategy, start with a time estimate of how long you think it's going to take. You may not be that accurate at first, but then if it does take longer or shorter, notice that, reflect on it, think about why. For example, is it that you didn't assign enough time? You were just overly optimistic about how quickly you could get that done? Or is it that the amount of time you assigned to that task actually was pretty reasonable, but you just weren't efficient enough? So perhaps there was a distraction or something else, right? So, what is the reason that the time didn't match up with the estimate? And what is the thing that needs to change? Is it the time estimate? You need to allocate more time to it. Or is it the efficiency and productivity and how fast you got that done? And if so, why? What goes into fixing that? So if you keep doing this, you will get really awesome at estimating how long things will take. And that's incredibly powerful lifelong tool. Okay, the next skill is to develop realistic time expectations. Again, most people are unrealistic about what they can get done in a given day or week. If you think you can fit 10 things on in your day that you have on your list, you may be tempted to start with the less important things on your to-do list to feel productive, but then you later find yourself scrambling and without enough time for the most important things. So if you are realistic and about your time and good at estimating your time, like we talked about, you're less likely to have this issue. Another part of this, that another pitfall that I see is people tend to map out every moment of the day, right? They assume, okay, let's say I have 24 hours, I'm going to sleep for 8 hours. That gives me 16 hours. They try to fill every little moment getting stuff done and they plan around that and not leave room for breaks and life and healthy habits. And so pay attention to the space you really need and how much you can realistically get done. And don't overbook yourself to the point where you're burning out and constantly unable to follow through on what you plan to get done. Okay, another really powerful strategy is to create a personalized approach that fits you to using your time well. In other words, it's not just about crunching the numbers on time to see what fits. It's about using time well in a way that works for you personally. So, one easy, well, not easy, but straightforward, easy in theory, way to implement this idea is to think about your best time and to use it in a way that makes sense for you. So, for example, when do you feel at your best? Just naturally the most efficient and focused. For some people, that's in the morning. For some people, it's definitely not. Think about other factors like when are you less likely to be distracted or interrupted? So, for example, when I was in practice, when I got in, I was a little bit of an early bird. When I got into the office early before everyone else arrived, that was a really quiet time where people weren't popping their heads in my office door or sending me messages, where I could really focus on things that needed my attention versus doing, more shallow, light tasks that didn't require so much focus. So, when do you feel more focused, less focused? When are you less likely to be dealing with distractions? Really think about how you use that time, right? Maybe that's the time of day that you want to use for studying or writing or legal analysis. And if there are other times where you tend not to be as focused, some people don't feel as focused in the mid-afternoon, for example, that may be a better time for dealing with responding to email, right? Or lighter tasks that don't require so much of you. So think about using that time well. Another very important skill is prioritizing and assigning appropriate amounts of time to different tasks. In other words, think about what's worth your time, right? You're a law student, you're a high achiever. That often leads us to want to get an A in everything in life and everything you do, but not everything justifies that level of time and effort, right? So fellow perfectionists, listen up. So for example, I've in the past found myself trying to very perfectly arrange my dishwasher, right? Something that simple as I load the dishwasher, right? Or in law school, maybe it's very carefully, strategically labeling tabs in your textbook, or absolutely perfectly formatting and color coding your outline, right? So compare that with something like studying for an exam or taking time to keep yourself healthy, right? In other words, think about for each thing you're taking on, what is the impact and how does it move you forward? How does it align with your goals and what you most want to accomplish, right? So in other words, match your time and effort to the importance of the task versus falling into the trap of writing a blank check for your time and effort for everything that's on your list. If you develop that filter and that radar for the way you approach things, you can save huge amounts of time and energy. All right. And one more skill set that I want to talk about is being able to protect your time management system. So in the last section, we talked about setting up a time management system that works for you, but you now need to be able to protect that, right? And part of that is respecting your own system, right? So for example, if you use the time blocking method and you decide, okay, Monday afternoon is the day where I do all my reading for my evidence class, right? And then you have the opportunity, something comes up and someone wants to take some of your time for a potential event or appointment on a Monday. And you look at your calendar and you see it's blank. Well, it's not, you think I'm available. And I say yes. Well, no, not really, right? Because you've allocated that time to reading for evidence class. So stop and think, is this opportunity more important than studying for evidence class? Is there another place I can move this block of time so that I can take advantage of this opportunity, right? Respect your own system. Treat your own decisions about how you spend your time just as important as the way you treat things that other people are asking of you, right? In other words, your calendar is not always the answer. Another way to protect your system is to build in flexibility and what I call buffer time, right? So build in space between tasks and projects. And again, don't map out every moment of the day. Build in extra time so that as you're getting used to getting better at estimating how long things are going to take, build in extra time. So as things take longer, as you're getting used to that, as you're developing that skill set, you have extra time, right? In other words, if you think you have 6 hours worth of things to get done in a particular time period, maybe plan around a little longer, 7 or 8, whatever it is, if you can leave in extra space so that if things take longer, you have that time, right? And you're not behind when that happens. And if things take less time, you're never going to be disappointed to have an abundance of time.